Hello and welcome to this Civ 6 modding video. I'm TwinCrows, a mod author and enjoyer. Like many Civ fans, I'm revisiting Civ 6 while awaiting the first expansion for Civ 7 that will surely fix everything. As a mod enthusiast, I'm starting my Civ 6 in 2026 experience by looking for modded leaders on the Steam Workshop. So if you're just interested in the leaders collection, I've already made a Steam Workshop mod collection that you can use to download the highly optimized and compatible mods that I'm recommending. But if you're interested in some of the theory and technicalities about Civ 6 modding, keep listening. In my searches, I've come across the same problems most people do with trying to mod Civ 6, namely the resource limit that causes the game to crash. The main problem with modding leaders in Civ 6 in 2026 is that there is a tremendous amount of content. Modders have created entirely too much content for the game to handle. Due to the surplus of official Firaxis content which has been added to the game, with the game's 2 expansions and dozens of DLC leaders, it's running near the engine resource maximum before you even install your first mod. For a while, it seemed like animated leaders would be the new horizon of Civ 6 modding, but at least in my finding, these sorts of leaders aren't easy to run in a heavily modded game. Users report crashes and the type of crashes that can kill a playthrough. Imagine playing a game of Civ for hours, only to crash and discover that the mod list you used isn't able to get beyond turn 100. As the game progresses, it starts to load more assets as wonders and improvements are built and units are upgraded. It's very easy to find that you can start a game with a certain mod list, but that same mod list can't make it to the late game due to going over the resource limit. Now you understand the basic issue: resource limits. Where is this limit precisely? Well, in the default game it could be at 2 GB. And by installing the 4 GB patch from NTCode, it expands to 4 GB. You could roughly estimate it based on the file size of the mods used, but it's not that simple. You'll mostly only know when you've passed it by seeing the game crash. As you're modding Civ 6, you need to stay under this limit for the game to function. Now, there are creative strategies to this. For instance, I found this method mentioned by Zegangani, which has you disabling DLC content that you don't need, and even disabling the game's original animated leaders by literally renaming their asset folder, which reduces the leaders to static portraits. Zegangani also tells us that we can even optimize modded animated leaders this same way, which is important if you really want to use some of the leaders that are animated, such as a lot of Sucotrax mods. Now, you don't need to go to that length, but it's important to highlight that the key to modding Civ 6 is handling the resource limits, which are often a problem with modded leaders. You can still install a lot of mods without disabling any original assets, but it's worth consideration if you're struggling to stay under the limit. Renaming a few folders is really easy and makes your game into a much more stable foundation for modding. I've found that resource-optimized leaders have static images and usually weigh in between 20 megabytes and 100 megabytes. When you're looking at leaders, check out the file size listed on the right-hand side of the mod page. You can have hundreds of optimized leaders active at the same time. The other thing to think about is the mod's last updated date. The most recent Civ 6 expansion, Gathering Storm, was released in 2019, and you can tell whether a mod is playable by it being updated in 2019 or later, because that expansion fundamentally changed how leaders must be programmed. However, it's not as easy as checking the date and downloading. This is modding we're talking about after all. Some of these mods are just broken, or the leader's abilities are buggy or unbalanced in actual play. There's usually a lot more going on under the hood than they talk about on the mod page, so it's important to be careful and check the comments before you download. To make matters more difficult, as a mod author, I know that players often report false or misleading comments. For example, claiming a mod causes crashes, which is more so due to the resource limit I explained before, which, if you understand that, there's never a need to let a mod author know about a resource limit crash. Whenever you see those comments, you have found somebody who needs a link to Zegangani's guide. Now, I wouldn't just give you a selection of leaders that I haven't tested myself. To test, I ran 5 autoplay battle royale games where I pitted the AIs against each other. This way, I could ensure that they're playable for the full game without any crashes. It's important to also know that the larger the map, the more resources it uses. I played on large maps, as I found that sometimes huge maps would end up crashing as the game developed. But I found that large is the perfect size, gives a lot of variety to a game without making it take overly long to move armies across the planet. Special thanks goes to modders Captain Lime, Sailor Cat, Merrick, Deliberator23, and the Civitas team, which includes the Crazy Scotsman, Ceiling Cat, Chimp, Digihuman, and Broad Day. Take care. Whenever you see those comments, you have found somebody who needs a link to Zegangani's guide. Whenever you see those comments, you have found somebody. Whenever you see those comments, you have found somebody who needs a link to Whenever you